By the end of Revenge of the Sith, Emperor Palpatine had slaughtered the Jedi and silenced the Senate. Bummer. But a new upcoming trilogy of Star Wars books will show the seeds of rebellion beginning to be planted. The first in a new reign of the Empire series, Star Wars. The Mask of Fear by Alexander Freed will be released by Random House Worlds on February 25th. The series follows three figures well known to franchise fans: Mon Mothma, Bail Organa, and Saw Gerrera. But when the story starts, these three Rebel Alliance legends are far from chummy, each working independently of the others in their own form of resistance. Entertainment Weekly has an exclusive excerpt from Star Wars, The Mask of Fear, Reign of the Empire, that shows Mon Mothma being warned by an ally about taking on the new emperor through legislative means, before something far more frightening changes everything. But first, the official book description. Before the rebellion, the Empire reigns. In Book 1 of a trilogy told through the eyes of Mon Mothma, Bail Organa, and Saw Gerrera. In order to ensure the security and continuing stability, the Republic will be reorganized into the First Galactic Empire for a safe and secure society. With one speech and thunderous applause, Chancellor Palpatine brought the era of the Republic crashing down. In its place rose the Galactic Empire. Across the galaxy, people rejoiced and celebrated the end of war and the promises of tomorrow. But that tomorrow was a lie. Instead, the galaxy became twisted by the cruelty and fear of the Emperor's rule. During that terrifying first year of tyranny, Mon Mothma, Saw Gerrera, and Bail Organa faced the encroaching darkness. One day, they will be three architects of the Rebel Alliance. But first, each must find purpose and direction in a changing galaxy, while harboring their own secrets, fears, and hopes for a future that may never come unless they act. The Mask of Fear, Reign of the Empire by Alexander Freed. As suspicion, paranoia, and worry set in for Mon Mothma and others, unexpected alliances begin to form, and trust is in short supply. "I promise, it's entirely adequate," Ludmore said, pushing the gravy toward Mon. "Wipe the taste of Hesperidium right out of your mouth." Mon laughed and shook her head, but Lud insisted, and she scooped up a helping with her flatbread and ate gracelessly. The rich, savory sauce dripped onto her chin. She barely glanced about to check whether anyone had seen. Lud had been solicitous toward her since Juana's murder, leaving daily messages of support and offering invitations to meals, without insisting and without regard for how complicated his own schedule was. Mon had said no until she'd said yes, and now, sitting with him, she remembered what it was like to have a friend. She didn't have many, not outside politics beyond a few classmates she saw once or twice a year, and not many in politics either. Maybe that was why she'd stayed with Perrin all this time. She looked up from the plate, caught Lud's gaze, and rebuked herself. "Those are dangerous thoughts. You really can't tell anyone about Hesperidium," she said. "Honestly, I shouldn't have mentioned. I heard yesterday. There was speculation about you and the Commerce Guild." She sighed. She trusted Lud, but she had no intention of telling him about Cornade and the others, and she didn't intend to let him guess who she'd met through process of elimination. "Can we drop it?" "Of course," Lud said. "But can I say one thing? You don't have to tell me anything. I'm not asking anything. I just want... There's a reason we don't talk about our projects." He waved off her objection. 2 minutes. That's all." She looked around the restaurant. It was packed with the lunch crowd, maybe 100 dockworkers jostling over trays. 2 minutes, she said. Lud steepled his hands and gathered his thoughts. "You're whipping votes outside your usual coalition. Everyone knows that, and certainly I respect the effort. It's hard enough keeping my allies in line. I can't imagine winning over my opponents. However, the people you're dealing with? If you're... And again, I'm not asking you to give anything away. I won't even watch your expression." He turned to the stained wall as his voice fell to a murmur. "If you're building a coalition to oppose the administration, I wish you'd consider the optics." "What optics?" she asked. "The optics of you assembling a group of the most privileged people in the galaxy. Corporate tycoons, senators from royal families, and the wealthiest worlds in the core. As opposed to humble men like yourself, from working-class worlds like Troy's." He scowled. "You promised me 2 minutes. Mon held up her hands in surrender. Palpatine is a populist. The reason he appeals to worlds like Troy is because people there see him making real changes in their lives. He cracked down on the corporations. He ended the war. He's promising that the era of out-of-touch politicians and 12th-generation nobility shaping the galaxy for their own benefit is over. She began. He's not giving power back to ordinary people. He's only shifting who holds it. He and his cronies don't care about your world any more than they care about mine. She stayed silent. What you're doing, Ludd said, is only proving him right. The delegation of 2000 was, well, it was mad and foolish and an utter failure, but at least it was idealistic. It was built on principle, and people saw that even if they didn't understand what the principle was. Now I know you're acting in what you believe is the best interest of democracy. I know you, Mon, but my coalition of the rich and ultra-powerful symbolizes what everyone hated about the Republic, is that right? She pushed her chair back, and Ludd turned toward her. I think your 2 minutes are up. He called her name and apologized as she stood. She told him it was fine, that she just had business back at the Senate, and she'd stayed too long already. She looked away when she saw the hurt in his eyes and hurried out of the restaurant, telling herself, he's not the one who gets to be injured, and he's not the one who gets to be angry. She shouldn't have cared what he thought. The commercial space docks were packed at this hour, and she had to push through throngs of people and past hoversleds laden with crates and cages and boxes of produce. She should have had security with her. The threats on her life were coming in rapidly since Juana's death and Mon's politicization of the tragedy. But she hadn't wanted anyone looking over her shoulder while she met Ludd. At least, anyone other than the usual spies, whom she assumed were tracking her every move and who, if she was lucky, might bother to intervene if she was attacked. As she maneuvered toward the tram, she nearly bowled over a squat man in a farmer's cloak and cowl. She apologized instinctively as he caught her wrist to keep from falling. But he hurried on, and she managed to board her car moments before it sped off for the federal district. She didn't think of the encounter again until she was back in her office, trying to comprehend the way Juana's replacement had configured her calendar. Her wrist itched, and she rolled up the white of her sleeve to see if she'd somehow scratched herself.